those are not superstar numbers. He's making superstar money. You expect 25-plus goals a season from this guy consistently. And the reality is he's a player that misses easy chances.
Matteo, what did you think of Juve today?
I was impressed. My main takeaway, though, is Kenan Yildiz. This guy, as I said on the commentary, a superstar in the making. I remember the criticism when they gave him the number 10, and they said...
From this guy right here.
Alessandro Del Piero.
I said we got to see. I mean...
This teenager, and rightfully so. You weren't wrong at the time to say it. Juventus were looking at this kid behind the scenes, and they saw what we're seeing now. He's coming off a 12-goal, 7-assist season. Very good numbers for a 19-year-old. Today, he was phenomenal. He should have had a goal. He had 2 assists, one of them absolutely brilliant. The way that he can so easily get by a defender like that. He's got, I think, the highest ceiling out of any Juventus player. And he's got one of the highest ceilings in the league, if not the highest ceiling in Serie A, where you can look at that guy and be like, that guy, 5 years down the line, is one of the household names that every soccer fan knows exactly who he is, what team he plays, how he plays. That's Kenan Yildiz. I'm so delighted that we have him in this league and that he started off match day 1 this well.
I totally agree with that. It's the year of Yildiz. And I said, if Juventus are able to achieve their goals, he could tip the scale. He could take Juventus from an average team to over the top. And it's because of the moments that we saw exactly today. Juventus lacked creativity. In the first half especially, the way that Parma was extremely organized, they had no way to break them down. Who else in the team is really going to come up with these special moments, these magic moments? It's Kenan Yildiz.
What about Jonathan David, though, on the other hand, Grell? Because it felt like a big sigh of relief for him to get his first goal with Juventus coming in as the big transfer this summer. But then Dusan Vlahovic, on the other hand, comes into the match and kind of does the same thing.
Well, his performance, I think, was the microcosm of the Juventus picture in whole. So his performance was... Wow. I got to match you, right? I got to match you.
Duke education right here on show.
We're also live on YouTube as well, Mr.
So I don't think a lot of people... Microcosm?
Microcosm. So listen, Jonathan David comes into the game. We all want to see, hey, what does it look like, right? He goes to trap a ball, hits him off the shin, goes to control another one, misses it, goes to hit another one, he's got an open chance in the box, whiffs it, right? And he's that close away from, if they pull him out then, to saying, oof, not great, not a great performance. But then he gets his goal, pops up in the right spot. He has some really good moments of link-up play in the game as well against a very low block against Parma. So now you look at his performance and say, wow, that's pretty good. And now for Juventus, we watched the first half, right? Same thing as Jonathan David. Didn't look good. We had our questions. We were a little worried at halftime, right? But we're patient, stayed in the game. The goal unlocks Parma. The goal makes the game 20 times easier. Now they're winning 1-0. They defend really well. We already know that. And now they're waiting for their moment, being patient on the counter.
I have a question for you.
And then they hit on the counter, 2-0. Thank you very much. And now, aside from the Cambiasso red card, it looks actually like a perfect performance from Tudor and perfect way to sort of put the game.
Mike, tell me this, as a former attacker, I said on the commentary that there's sometimes with Jonathan David when he did that flick right away. Didn't even take an extra touch. And the flick was nice. He had a back heel for Kefren Turam. Yep. He had a few where the midfielder plays him the ball. He's back to goal, and he just quickly plays that perfect ball just to allow you to continue your run. But how many times from the striker will you want him to, instead of instantly thinking, I'm going to just keep playing that little flick, to actually settle the ball and try to create some space? Because he can shoot with the right or left. You want that deadly instinct from your number 9 when he's inside the box. I understand that this is part of his game, but I wonder if there's going to be times where, is he too unselfish? What's your opinion?
It's perfect. The perfect example to answer that question is we saw Scamacca playing against a low block in Pisa. They were down 1-0 at home. We saw Scamacca pop up in that spot. Instead of laying it off or playing with his back to goal, he touches it, gets it out of his feet, boom, goal. Center forward, number 9, dangerous guy, right? Dangerous when you're worried as a defender. You're thinking, okay, at any moment he's got no backlift. He could shoot at any moment with both feet. You've got to watch him at all times. Really dangerous. With Jonathan David, he's a totally different striker. He's a striker that wants to link play. He wants to come into the midfield. He wants to pop up in the right spots at the right time. But I don't think he has that like super danger in him. Vlahovic and Scamacca are more similar to me than Jonathan David is. But not to say that he's not the answer. right? Because today I thought he was okay. He gets his goal and makes the performance pretty good. But you're not scared of him in that way, you know?
We all know how much Dusan Vlahovic is on. You mentioned even on the commentary, it's a high wage bill, isn't it? Even for Juventus and the money that they have. Was him playing today, Marco, a signal that he's part of the plan still for Igor Tudor? Is this putting him back in the shop window for the end of the transfer window?
So Milan's wanted him. The problem is not about that. Like, there are teams, but to match his salary, which makes 12 million euros, which is the most in Serie A, was a bad deal that Juventus gave him, where his salary increased over time, and he wants to ride it out if he can, because he could be making money, playing for Juventus, whether he plays or whether he doesn't play. If he comes in the last 10 minutes, it doesn't really matter to him, and then get a big move on the horizon and make a lot of money. I think that he needs to play. I think that he needs to play regularly. I think this last season has been a disaster for him. I think Tudor likes him. There's quotes from Tudor back when he was coaching in the past where he said he is the best striker in Serie A. This is a time when Osimhen was there as well. But I think it's a bigger issue from the club where they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, where they don't want to lose this asset that they had, that they paid 70 million for, while also still needing to get some sort of transfer fee for
his celebration. What he did was almost like, do you remember I'm still here? And Juventus fans know very well, right? And I think most Juventus fans look at him and say, right, this guy's getting superstar money, 12 million net, by the way, for a guy who didn't have double-digit goals from open play in Serie A. Those are not superstar numbers. He's making superstar money. You expect 25-plus goals a season from this guy consistently. And the reality is he's a player that misses easy chances, has a tough time in the link-up, is not incisive with his passing. Sometimes he has a hard time trapping a ball that's coming to him with pace. You know, we're laughing, but this is the truth. Like, we've all watched all the Juventus games. We've watched all the Vlahovic games, and he is making money of a level that he just isn't at. Do I think he'll ever get to that level? I don't think so. I think he had one great season, one season where he looked world-class, and that was at Fiorentina. How many times have we had one striker? Krzysztof Piątek scored 31 goals in all competitions in the season between Genoa and Milan, never to be seen again in Serie A. We need more of a sample size, and the Juve Dusan Vlahovic is not a world-class player. That's just the simple truth of it. I don't think that you can even really debate that anymore.
And make no mistake that there's two different games happening in that game, right? When it's 0-0 against Parma, it's really difficult. I remember coming on to games, and when my team needed a goal, I'd be like, oof, it's going to be difficult, because the other team would be stacked against you. You have no space to operate. Every time you touch it, there'd be guys closing you down. But then if I came into games when it was up 1-0, up 2-0, I would always be thinking, okay, I'm going to get one. I know for a fact I'm going to get a chance today, because the other team's going to be pressing. They're going to make mistakes, and I'm going to get one. There's a ton of space behind, right? So Vlahovic comes into the game, gets his goal. It's great that both strikers score their goals, but the Vlahovic goal is a lot easier than the Jonathan David goal, because at that time it was a difficult game.
The game was already unlocked in some ways, wasn't it? And Vlahovic, you mentioned, obviously Milan want him or are interested in him. Let's talk about our key takeaways from Matchday 1 so far then, because Milan came out on the wrong side of that, didn't they, against Cremonese, who did so well at San Siro yesterday.
It was absolutely epic the entire day, right? Nobody gave Cremonese a chance. Most have Cremonese relegated. But Davide Nicola, if there's one thing about him in life, he sees statistics, he sees the odds against him, and he breaks it. Every time he keeps the team saved. This might be his biggest achievement, to go to San Siro as Cremonese for the first time in club history to win this, with Baschirotto doing his celebration, and then the way that they win the game with Bonazzoli scoring a world-class goal that's on the front pages of the newspapers in Italy. I just think that this is a sign. If this is anything to take away from the first day of Matchday 1, it's that Serie A is so unpredictable this season. Anyone could take points away from anybody, and the small teams, they have a lot more courage than I think in years past.
In 24 hours, Milan lost at San Siro at a packed stadium to Cremonese, which, by the way, you could all hear the Cremonese fans in the stadium at San Siro, which is a very bad sign for Milan. And then Victor Boniface's medical fails. And suddenly, we already finished Matchday 1, and they don't know who their striker's going to be, because Santi Jimenez was just... The Gazzetta, which is an Italian media publication, they said that Baschirotto basically put the pacifier in Jimenez's mouth and said, you go there and you lay down like a good boy in your bassinet, and you don't move, and you don't play. And that's exactly what Baschirotto did to Santi Jimenez. He treated him like he was going like this to him. Jimenez couldn't play. He could not play. He could not play. He looked so out of his depth, and that is worrying, because you're a Milan striker, and a Cremonese defender can make you look like that. That is tough. Tough seeds.
Napoli lost 3-0 in the first game of last season.
It's
right?
true, Grella.
And then won the Scudetto. So it's still early
And
days.
didn't play in Europe, so maybe Milan can
Stop
follow.
trying to save her Milan Scudetto
I
prediction.
think them to
But
win the
it
Scudetto.
is still early days, right? You can't write anybody off yet after one match day. My takeaway is the Gasperini, the fork in the road between Gasperini and Atalanta, right? We are all interested to see Atalanta side without Gasperini, what it looked like. I think we knew, right? We have him ninth. We have him deeper in the table. So we knew that it was going to be difficult for them. And then obviously Roma looked like they were flying out of the gates, and Kone was fantastic for them.